Hey guys, well, we are on another road trip.
Yeah, we're coming back from Phoenix just like we did last time. Took a little bit different route, but we're on our way back from Phoenix, out there between Wickenburg and Wickiup in Arizona.
So we're on our way back. Thought we'd do another senior moment. So where we left off on the last senior moment, I think Dad was in Blythe with his 55 Chevy, and
yeah, that's where I worked for U.S. Gypsum Company in Blythe.
Oh, Midland.
I mean in Midland, right out of Blythe.
Right.
And both my daughters, Renee and Vicky, were both born in Blythe. And I just, Maisie really didn't like the heat. She never could really adjust to it. So after 2.5 or 3 years out in Midland, I decided, well, to make her happy and, to find some way to make her comfortable. I thought we ought to move out of the desert. Personally, I love the desert. It never gets too hot for me, but Maisie was born and raised in Colorado, and I think Walsenburg, and she just never could adjust to the way the heat was out in the desert. So I decided after 2-3 years, if she couldn't adjust to it, I'd move into closer to the coast where it didn't get quite so hot. So I left, of course, knowing that Midland only had 2 or 3 more years to go, played a part of that too, because U.S. Gypsum Company had already let us know that within 10 years that mine would be phased out. So I knew I was going to have to move eventually, so we decided to move into the coast.
Southern California.
Yeah, to Southern California. We moved into Southgate, and my first job in Southgate was surprisingly with a company that had an affiliation to U.S. Gypsum Company, and it was a roofing company. And the reason I had that job is because when I left Midland, the manager at Midland told me about this Southgate roofing company that was literally part of U.S. Gypsum Company. And he wrote me an amazing letter of recommendation based on my job experience at Midland and the way they liked my work. So when I moved into Southern California, I forgot now, we moved to San Gabriel Valley, but I took a job with a roofing company in I know where it is, but I just can't think of the name right now. Southgate. So I took a job in Southgate with a roofing company.
So was this roofing supply manufacturer? I would think?
They manufactured the asphalt roofing shingles that you see on houses.
Well, I was thinking that if they were part of U.S. Gypsum, that wasn't like a roofing company that puts roofs on.
Yeah, no, they manufactured the roofing that goes into bundles of asphalt shingles for the roof of houses.
I didn't know that. That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, it was.
How long
well,
were
it's
you
probably
there?
because I tried to forget it. I did not like that roofing company. I did not like the work. The job was a job, and the people that I worked for were nice people, but I hated it. There wasn't anything about the job, nothing at all that I liked, that I felt like I could work into where I'd be satisfied.
Really?
So at that particular time, my sister and her husband, Andy, lived in someplace in Southern California. I forgot now the town. But he worked for a company that that made parts for aircraft back in the 50s when the aircraft industry was really, really strong. And we'd go over and visit, and he told me, he said, you know, if you get any experience with machinery, come on over and I'll talk to the foreman. We'll see if we can get you on over there. So I did. And talked to a guy named Floyd Shireman. Funny, I remember his name. Floyd Shireman was a foreman. Really a character, very nice guy. And he's the one that gave me that saying that I use once in a while. I would sit in his office every once in a while. Somebody would come in with some kind of a question. And as they'd leave, after they'd leave, he'd say, you know, he said it takes all kinds, but I don't see why in the hell they all have to work for me. And I remember that just as plain as day. But anyway, I talked to him for a few minutes, and he said, absolutely. He said, if you have an interest in working with metal, come on in. And I started off on what they call a burr bench, where they were making the spars and the wing spans for the F-150 jets back in those days. And I started off just like everybody else. I started off on the burr bench. When the parts would come off of the machines, the burrs had to be taken off of them. They had like metal slivers, and you know, the edges were rough, and they all had to be smoothed down before they were shipped. And so that was my first job, was on the burr bench in the aircraft industry.
And you liked that?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved working with metal, and I loved working with the machines. And every time something would come up where there would be an opening for somebody to move to a machine, I tell Floyd, hey, I want to work on that machine. And he'd say, do you know how? And I'd say, well, yeah, of course I know how. And I didn't know anything. But I had been over watching it all the time. I was watching all the machines I could watch, learning all I could learn. So every time I got a chance to go on a machine, it just turned out that I had, I guess, a natural ability to run that machine. And
it never was intimidating?
Well, no, I loved it. Every day of it I loved. And the more I did it, the more I loved it. Huh. And so I decided, well, that's what I want to do. So I hunted around and I found International Correspondence School had a course for tool engineering, and that included mathematics and tool design and all that stuff. So I thought, well, in order to really be good at what I'm doing, I want to learn that. So I took that course from International Correspondence School. I took a correspondence course in tool engineering technology. And I passed it with pretty good grades. And then I was able to put that on my resume for the company. That it was, I forgot the name, I think it was Dahlhauser Tool, I'm not sure. But then they saw that on my resume and they thought, well, if he knows tool technology, he can probably do some of this stuff. So every time I got a chance, I'd move up on a more complicated machine. And I learned to read blueprints, learned to do whatever was necessary on the job. And that's all I did for the next 4 or 5 years. Is I just, I worked as a machinist. I left that particular company and I moved to another company called Spar, where we were making primarily spars for the F-100s and for big transport planes.
What's a spar?
A spar is the main beam that goes from the tail section to the cockpit.
Okay.
That's what the whole plane is built around a spar.
Kind of like the spine.
The spine, exactly.
In essence.
Like the keel of a boat.
Okay. All right.
And then we put in 5 big machines that were cutting the wings for the F-104s and F-105s and F-150s. And that's where I really got where I really loved that, because I could design tools. Some of the cuts that had to be made were difficult to make. And I designed some of the tooling to help us make that. And the company appreciated that and paid me for it. So that's how I became a machinist.
Interesting.
I just worked my way through the aircraft industry. And after I left Southern California with the aircraft industry, I moved to Northern California. And in Northern California, because I was a machinist, I went to work for these companies like Hewlett-Packard, who was making Klystron tubes for radar systems. And I just had a knack for picking up a print, realizing what it was for, and figuring out how to machine that particular part. And so I worked my way into that.
Now, why the move? Was there other reasons for the move from Southern California to Northern California, or was it just work?
Well, I'll tell you the truth, I don't really remember. I know I got tired of the traffic and the smog in Southern California, and by that time, she had another baby, my oldest son, Bruce.
So you had 3 kids by now. By then you had 3 kids. Yeah.
And I don't think your mother was pregnant with you, but it was close. But
well,
anyway,
there was 5 years between me and Bruce.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, after Bruce was born, he was born in
Linwood.
Where?
Linwood.
In Linwood, which is like Compton.
Yeah.
Compton and Linwood. And I enjoyed Southern California, but the smog was really getting bad. I remember one time my aunt and uncle moved down there. My aunt Bird and Uncle Frank moved down there. And I got Smokey, I mean.
Yeah.
It wasn't Frank, it was Smokey. I got Smokey a job at the plant where I worked.
Really?
And he really enjoyed it. He worked there for a lot, but he could never get used to the traffic. The traffic down there just scared the hell out of Smokey. And I used to pick him up, drive him to work, and then drive him back home.
Yeah.
But I remember one time they talked me into going over to the town hall party, which is Cliffy Stone's town hall party, which is a country music show that was being telecast at the time. And my aunt talked me into going over there and singing one time.
So this must have been in the 50s then?
Yeah, it was in the 50s.
Okay.
I'll never forget that. I actually got to sing at the town hall party. Freddie Hart was there. The Collins kids were there at the time. Before Cliffy Stone's town hall party, the Collins kids were a brother and sister that played guitar and sang. They used to be on Tex Rader's ranch party.
Huh.
And then they moved over to Cliffy Stone's town hall party. And I hadn't thought about that for years, but I actually sang on the town hall party. I sang a Hank Williams song on the town hall party, Cliffy Stone's town hall party. And I met Cliffy Stone probably 25, 30 years later, after I had started the sign business, on one of my trips back to Nashville. I was sitting in a restaurant, and Cliffy Stone walked in. He was back there doing some promotion for country music. He didn't have his show at that time. And I recognized him, and I walked over and talked to him. I said, Cliffy, I don't know if you remember me, but I sang on your show one time. He said, forgive me. He said, I had so many for so many years. He said, but sit down and have a cup of coffee with me. He said, I'm not doing anything for the next half hour. So we sit down, and I told him, what I was doing. I told him who I was.
Yeah.
And I told him I'd like to make a sign for him, like I did for Country Music Stars.
Yeah.
He said, that'd be great, that'd be great. So I made one. When I got back, I didn't do it while I was there. When I got back, I made one and sent it to him. And I made one for him to send back to me. But in the meantime, he got so sick, and he died shortly after that.
Oh.
I never got him back from my collection. I got a nice letter from his son saying that his dad really appreciated the sign. And thank you very much.
And so, was Cliffy Stone, because I've never heard the name before, was he in country music as far as a performer?
No.
Or was he always in promotion?
He was a promoter.
He was a promoter.
Yeah, he promoted, he was like, well, like most country music stars, when they go play someplace, they go on the road, somebody does their booking for them. Mm-hmm. Somebody talks to the agents and the road agents, and they book the show into different places. Well,
yeah.
That's the kind of thing Cliffy Stone did.
Okay.
And then he realized that country music was getting bigger, and he had a chance to start his own show. And he called it a Cliffy Stone Town Hall Party.
Yeah.
And it was very popular for a long time with country music people.
Oh.
And,
so then he would have acts and artists come in from out of town.
Yeah, you could go in. You could go in and apply to appear on his show, and either he or some of his people would put you through a real fast audition.
Yeah.
And they usually had a couple of pickers there. You picked a song, the pickers all knew all of the popular songs.
Yeah.
And then you'd do a little, 1 or 2 minute audition. If he liked it, you'd be on the show.
Huh. Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I wish that I had got a tape of it. I don't know if there's any tapes left. But I wish I had got a tape of it at the time. But, I was just a kid. I didn't think about that kind of thing. I didn't think about, in 70 years, I'd be sitting here talking on a phone to somebody about something that happened 70 years ago.
So you said Freddie Hart was there.
Freddie Hart was there.
Ended up being a big star. Was he a big star at that point?
No, he was like, I don't know if you remember Carrot Top Anderson, Joe and Rosalie Maphis, and the Collins kids. They were all local stars, but they never became national talents. Freddie Hart did, however. He became a big hit. He had a song that was the first song that was ever the song of the year twice.
Easy Lovin'?
Easy Lovin'.
Yeah.
And two years in a row, that was the song of the year. That was the first time that ever happened.
Yeah, that was a huge hit.
The funny thing about Freddie, he was such a nice guy. One of the trips that I took back to Nashville, when I was out, just before the CMA award show was on, I was out at Opryland, and I had to go out to my car. I was parked in the parking lot, and on my way back, I walked past the entrance, and I saw Freddie Hart out there. And I walked over and I said,
was he by himself?
Yeah, no, he was in a crowd.
Oh, okay.
I said, what are you doing out here, Freddie? How come you're not go back? He said, I really like to be with my fans. He said, I like to get in and listen to the show like everybody else. So I just buy a ticket and go with everybody else.
So he was there with
He was there with like 150, 200 people waiting outside to get in the front door.
They weren't there just to ask him questions or meet him.
No, they were there as part of it. Most of them didn't even recognize him. Most of them were just there to go into the show.
Yeah.
And he really liked to be part of the crowd that was just going in to see the show. Wow. He never put on any airs, and never tried to use his stardom as a way to get in.
Did you happen to mention to him about Southern California?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I talked to him for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And he didn't remember me, of course, but he remembered the town hall party. And Cliffy Stone and he were good friends. And he knew all of the performers that were regulars on the town hall party.
Yeah.
And Joe, most people don't know who Joe Maphis was. But Joe and Rosalie Maphis were regulars on the show. And Joe Maphis was probably one of the best guitar players that ever lived.
Really?
Yeah, most people don't even know who he was, but he was just a tremendous guitar player. He had a double neck guitar, and he taught Larry Collins, one of the Collins kids. The kid was like 12 years old, and he bought and had made a special double neck guitar, and Joe Maphis taught him how to play it. Joe and Rosalie were, everybody in country music around Southern California knew them, but nationally, almost nobody did.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was. I've got fond memories of. I don't go through them much, but I've got fond memories of everything that happened back in those days.
Yeah, because I never heard most of that. I knew at one point you sang on stage at some kind of an event, but I never heard all the details. So it was Bert and Smokey that actually took you to this place, and that was the first time you'd ever gone?
They went with me. They talked me into doing it.
Yeah, right.
And,
but Mom wasn't there? She was...
No, she was home with the kids.
Home with the kids, yeah.
Yeah, she was home with the kids.
So Mom really didn't work a job, so to speak. The whole time I was growing up, and that was years after that, I don't ever remember her working a job except she was a waitress in a Chinese restaurant at some point. But that was maybe 10 years later or something like that. But Mom really, up until that point, and even after that, Mom really never worked a job. She was a stay-at-home mom.
She stayed at home and raised a kid. That's what she wanted to do. So, and then later on, after kids were pretty much, you guys were all pretty much grown.
Yeah.
She had a little problem with her weight, and she really couldn't quite figure out how to lose weight. So I talked her into going. My mother, Frances, at that time worked on a carnival with my aunt and uncle, another aunt and uncle. And so I called Mom and asked her if Maisie could come out and work for her for a couple of months during the carnival season and maybe help her get where she could lose some weight. Mom said sure. She'd have a place for her to work in. She had a concession trailer. And so I told Maisie about it. Maisie snapped at the chance. So she took off and was gone for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And she lost a lot of weight. She went from really heavy down to like 121 pounds.
Yeah.
Just really successful weight loss program.
I remember that, but that was still quite a few years later on.
When you were young, you and I used to go out and visit her when the carnival was close enough, within 100 miles or 200 miles.
Right.
We would go out and visit her.
Well, yeah, even 400 or 500 miles. Because we went up into Idaho and Montana. That's where I learned to trout fish.
Right.
We would trout fish all the way up and back. Yeah. But that, again,
those
that
were
was...
good old days, weren't they?
Yeah, that was... We used to just, park the truck next to the river and just fish every river and
I remember we would get out at night.
Ponds.
We'd get out at night and build a campfire. Yeah. I found an old ball one time and we had a ball game.
Yeah.
A lot of fond memories of those fishing trips that we took. I had a 68 Chevy pickup.
Yeah.
And I put a 55-gallon drum of gas in the back of that because gas in those days was very cheap in California. I'd fill that 55-gallon drum full of gas, and that would last us all the way up to Idaho fishing and back.
Yeah.
When we got low on gas, I did pull some gas out of that tank.
Just
remember that?
Siphoned it right into the tank.
Into the tank.
Out of that. Oh, yeah, I remember it playing. And then, we had Kirk. Who was
which a big place dog.
My first dog ever was Kirk, named after after Captain Kirk and Kirk Douglas, my favorite actor,
Right.
and big German Shepherd, and the three of us would take off and go fishing in Idaho and Montana.
Yeah, and he was such a good dog.
He was a great dog.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
He'd be there in the truck with it, and somebody would come up and say, "Oh, gee, what a pretty dog." And I said, "Yeah, but he's got a tough life." And the guy would say, "Why?" And I said, "I don't know what. Tell him, Kirk. Tell him how rough it is." Kirk would go, "Oh."
He was a great dog.
Yeah.
My first dog.
He used to ride in the back sometimes.
Yeah.
We'd stop at a drive-in, and we'd get a hamburger and some French fries. And I'd take French fries in my left hand, throw them out of the truck. Kirk's sitting in the back, and he'd be up there catching those French fries.
Yeah, he would sit right back at the tailgate and wait for him to come over the cab and catch him in the back of the truck as we were going down the road.
He was a heck of a dog.
Yeah, he'd do the same thing with Oreos or Chips Ahoy too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're going on half hour now, so I hope you like this. But to be honest, I don't. I know a lot of you guys enjoy this, but I want to, in case this is the first one you've seen, and it may get monotonous for you, but this is, I'm pretty selfish. This is done for me.
I want to show you something too.
Oh, okay.
This is a face shield that I designed and I make. And I make these where they fit on a baseball cap. But as you can see, I've got a headband over my beanie here. And they fit just fine on a headband. I mean, they're great shields. So if you need a shield, I'd call Vicki and let her know, and she'll see that you get one.
So that's our commercial.
Yeah, that's a commercial. I made these in packs of 5, and I've got a few packs left. I'm not going to make any more of them for the headband set, but I've got a few sets left if you want. So call Vicki and let her know.
Okay.
I just wanted to, just in case you needed a face shield instead of a mask, I thought I'd let you know that.
Yeah, you and I don't wear masks. We wear the shields.
Yeah, we don't wear masks when we go in.
Yeah.
I don't like breathing in something that I've already breathed in. So
Yeah. Anyway.
we just put those shields on.
Okay, now.
Okay, that's enough.
Anyway, so these senior moments really are more for me, so I can have these. I learned stuff about Dad that I hadn't heard, stories. So I hope it was entertainment for you. But whether it was or not, I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, my kids and my grandkids, now my great-grandkids, they'll be able to see these videos years and years after I'm gone.
Yep.
And they'll say, "Hey, that's my great-grandma.
Yeah,
that's my grandma."
My great-great-grandkids will be able to see after I'm gone. They'll know you from these things. Yeah.
You from talking to me.
So, anyway, that's it, guys. Hope you guys are having a great day, and we'll see you on the next one. Every time we do a road trip, we'll probably do
Yeah, we'll lose some more treasures from the past.
Yeah. Have a great day, guys. Thanks. Bye. Say bye, Dad.
Bye.